accepting. We are
Yes, of
listening to
course.
you on Boito.
Oh,
I was listening before that. What was the name? Copia iniqua Anna Bolena.
oh, Ana Bolena. Yeah.
Well, how can I make you on bigger size on, because a lot of people here right now.
I think you just click on my photo.
All right. No, it become like smaller.
Oh, I don't know then.
No. Okay, now you are here on the left side. How are you? Welcome.
I'm good.
Welcome. I would love to show you to Istanbul. You have a new puppy there?
Well, she's not new. We've had her for 3 years almost.
He's cute. Hello, my
You know.
sweetheart. What's her name?
Coraline?
Coraline.
Yep.
Cute girl. How is everything, Angela?
It's good.
Thank you for accepting again. You know, I'm nervous. I know you well. We are good friends, but of course I'm nervous. David is here. David, please turn off your camera, please.
Okay.
Thank you, David. Also the mic. I can mute you, but I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll turn off.
Sorry, David. Nice to see you, David.
No problem.
Thank you, David.
I'll see you downtown sometime.
Sure.
Yes. Hi, David.
And how can I start? 57 award. You are an opera star. You're born an opera star. Do you think, should I start it right away about you, or should I start it about the questions? It's kind of, it's very hard for me because always I do, I don't see you I can see myself like this small. I can see yourself like that too. Why? I don't know.
I don't know.
It's okay. I would like to ask you, you are an opera star. You're born like that. And when I sang with you, I enjoy a lot to be accompanying you, like a kind of like enjoy, because you gave your heart, you enjoy. Tell me, who's Angela Meade for the people who's not, like, tell me, how do you started for opera? Why do you like to sing in opera?
How I got started in opera?
Yes.
Well, I mean, I grew up singing a lot in church.
Uh-huh.
I grew up in a Southern Baptist church, and my mom played the organ. And so she would play and I would sing solos for church. And I really enjoyed singing, but I was shy. And I sang in choir in school and played in band, so I was really musical. But when I finished high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do with myself. I had spent a lot of time in high school and before that in middle school and in elementary school being in music classes, but didn't know how I could sort of make a living out of it. I wasn't even sure if it was feasible to make a living. All I really knew outside of singing choir music and listening to the radio were those kinds of music. So I didn't really know that opera existed.
But that is a step by for the classical music, kind of like, it's when you are singing in the church. It's not like like singing a jazz or pop.
Yeah. But I didn't know that I could like make money doing it. I didn't know I could support myself with it. So it didn't ever cross my mind until I went to community college because I didn't really know what I wanted to do with myself. And was taking a lot of science and math classes because I thought maybe I would be a doctor. And I hated it. And was taking music classes. And my choir teacher was actually the person that turned me on to a voice teacher who introduced me to opera.
But your choir director told you to continue to an opera.
Yeah, she introduced me sort of to it because she was like, I've given you solos in choir and I know that you have a beautiful voice and you really like to sing. Would you like to take some voice lessons with this friend of mine?
Wonderful.
And so I went into voice lessons and that voice teacher introduced me to opera.
And then you started for competitions, no? Singing.
Well, that wasn't for a little bit. So I studied with this teacher for mm, a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then I transferred from the community college I was at transferred to a 4-year university as a voice major.
Mm.
And it was while I was at my undergrad that I started doing competitions. There weren't a whole lot. That was in Washington State, and there weren't a whole lot of vocal competitions. It wasn't like being on the East Coast where they're a dime a dozen.
Let me tell them about the Washington State. Let me tell them in Turkish if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure.
Washington State dediği en batısında Vancouver'ın ve Seattle'ın aşağısında kalan bir bölge. Amerika'da en batıda olan ve çoğunlukla yarışmalar hepsi doğuda oluyor. I was telling them the mostly competitions happening in the east side instead of on the west side. Like only Lawrence Zachary competition, which you won that too. And
there weren't a whole lot on the West Coast. So I finished my undergrad university. And then I wanted to move to New York. And so I did auditions. I auditioned at Juilliard and I auditioned at Manhattan School of Music, and I got into Manhattan School of Music, and I moved to New York, and 9/11 happened 2 weeks later.
Wow.
So I was really shaken up by that, understandably. And I moved back home. I left Manhattan School of Music and moved back for a year. And then I went to the University of Southern California because I had a connection there from a summer program I had done in upstate Michigan while I was an undergrad. So I went there, and when I was there, I did my master's, and then I auditioned for a bunch of young artist programs, and I didn't get into any.
No way.
And no way. Yeah, I didn't get into any. And so I was frustrated, and I had a teaching assistantship while I was doing my master's. And so I stayed and did part of my doctorate. I actually didn't finish it because then I got into AVA.
Yes. Which AVA they were like, wow, we have a soprano, real soprano can sing it.
I guess so. I mean, I was frustrated when I did the audition because
when I was in school, I was graduating, and they were saying like, we have a real soprano now.
That's funny. I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
That's great. So then I went to AVA, and I started doing a lot more competitions because I had access to them. And because I did the Met competition and won that, the following day afterwards was when they asked me if I would, cover in Hernani the next year. And then, of course, we know the story. Sandra Ivanovsky got sick. I went on and made my Met debut. Voila, that was my professional debut as well. So that's sort of how that happened.
Does AVA add you anything? Like, because you were a good singer. When you came to, I didn't know you were getting on Manhattan. Also, you try another young arts program. I didn't know that. Did AVA add you anything, like Academy of Vocal Arts? Did they give you any specialty, or how did you improve to be a better musician?
Well, I think AVA definitely added stuff, because when I was in school, it was very academic focused. So there wasn't a lot of in-depth work on singing and opera, even though I was a voice major, because we had all these other things. I had one voice lesson a week. There weren't really coaches.
Yes.
So the only time you really got to work on music was if you were in the opera, which I was usually. But you only worked on the stuff for the opera. So there wasn't a lot of time to spend with a coach on other things. So as you know, AVA, there's a lot of coaching that goes on, and voice lessons, and of course working with maestro and having these in-depth, long rehearsals where you work on so many details. So of course that was super helpful. I think that it sort of was like, I always call AVA opera finishing school, right? Like they mold you and fix you to go out into the real world. And I'm not sure that my career would have ever happened had I not gone to AVA.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so, when do you when you prepare a new role?
Yeah.
How I'm sure you have right now. When you sang in Seville, Anna Bolena, I sang in the Graham Wick production in Lisbon, and I heard wonderful things about you. But Graham Wick didn't come, and then he said, there is a soprano in Seville sang wonderful, and I don't want to make gossip, but he told wonderful things about you, also for acting, because he's a difficult man. He's a difficult man as a stage director. What do you do when you are preparing a new role for acting, not only voice?
Well, sometimes it's difficult. Let's be honest. I mean, if I don't feel a connection with the person that I'm playing, it's much more difficult, as I'm sure that you feel the same. Like, to find things that are similar to my personality to bring out.
Yes.
But also, like, to dive into the character and find how to do it. Sometimes the libretti of these shows also are not very succinct. And so it's hard to find a through line through them. But I always try to find the source material and read it. Of course, I read through the libretto like it's a book.
But you go to original script, no?
I do. If I can find it, yes. And if it's, luckily, if there's a translation, I mean, it's very time consuming and much of a headache to sit down with like a French text and try to translate all of the French into English when I don't speak French fluently.
Do you hate French? Tell me honestly. Do you like
No,
French?
I like French, actually.
Come on, tell me honestly. You like French?
I do. I actually like singing in French quite a bit, and I hardly ever do it.
But do you like French coaches?
French coaches?
Yes.
I haven't worked with a lot of actual French people.
No, not the French people, for the language coach. Like, who's a French, also a good pianist. Sometimes they are very rough pianists. You know what I mean.
They can be, yes.
It's okay. Let's not make a gossip. Okay. Please continue. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I just want to tell you, you are so wonderful in Falstaff. I saw you in the Met.
Thank you. I love Falstaff.
You have a sense of humor. And is there anybody ask you, stage director, or which type of roles for you difficult, comedy or drama?
Well, I did Fledermaus in college, and I've done Alice twice. So I've only done a little bit of comedy, and I really like it. I think I have a quirky, childlike personality, so it's easy for me to like fall into that. I actually struggled the most with like being the ingenue and like being, not subservient, but like hi Coraline, being in like relationships on stage. I'm much better at either comedy or like the queen figures, the royalty sort of stuff.
Which I love. I love the fast stuff. You are awesome. You are awesome.
Thanks.
You are awesome. On daily routine, what do you do right now? Like, not now, mostly time when you were busy, because you have a long period. Like you have booked back-to-back jobs, back-to-back roles. Yeah. It's not the role you sang before, what do you do for the role? What do you do in a day?
Well, it depends on the day. Sometimes I'm learning stuff while I'm singing other roles, right? Like while I was singing Hermione in Naples this last winter in November, I was having to learn Aida while I was doing it because Aida was new for me. And Hermione was sort of new. I had sung it, but only in concert. And so I was doing my first staged production. So I was like having to split my mind, basically, learning different things while singing a role, which is difficult.
But for Aida, where you were preparing for? Which country?
Barcelona.
In Europe also.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I always try to the process of how I do things is I like to familiarize myself with the story first. I go through and translate it. And, and then I like to listen through it if there is a recording. just to be more and more familiar with not only what I'm singing, but like what's going on underneath me, because I'm not astute enough pianist to play everything.
Yes.
And then I take it to the piano and I like dissect it. And I like to do the recits first, if it's a roll with recits. And then I like to do the arias, and then I'll do the ensembles. And once I've learned it, then I'll take it to a coach. I don't like to take it to a coach and have a coach teach it to me.
You prepare before. You prepare before. You learn before. Like you do your homework before.
Yes, I do my homework. It's much harder for me to take it to a coach and be like, "Can you teach this to me?" It's just not the way like my brain works.
Yes.
So I do all that, and then I take it to a coach, and then I coach it. I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 times, and then usually I go away to the gig.
What is the difference between Europe and America? Theater, also stage director, also conductor. It's a lot of questions. I'm sorry, we have.
Okay, so I don't think the audiences are necessarily different. In fact, I don't find a lot of difference in any of those questions that you asked, because the conductors and the stage directors work worldwide like we do.
Yes.
And I run into people in Europe that I worked with in America and vice versa. I think they function pretty the same. Do you think they're different?
I'm sorry? Your voice cut it.
Do you? Oh, I said
like
I don't
opera houses in America is much more bigger than Europe. Europe house is much smaller, and you don't need to sing loud. You need to be very not loud. You feel much more comfortable in Europe, but in audience, yes, it's true. Maybe I love American audience than European. Europeans is like German. I would have said in München, Bayerisch, little bit, because I did the Barber of Seville when I sang Don Basilio. They have this snob people. In Genève, I sang Trovatore. They were like, wah! And then when I sing Don Giovanni, was like snob, very like not like.
It depends. I know what you mean. I've found that on certain nights, a lot of time opening nights, especially in Europe, there is the crowd, the rich crowd who come to be seen, and they like opera, but they're very polite with the way they applaud.
Yeah.
I definitely noticed that.
I should have said not the polite. They are shy. They don't want to interrupt, or
yes, correct.
Kind of like that.
A lot of times they'll applaud a lot at the end, but you don't get a lot throughout the show. Like there's not a lot of applause after arias.
Exactly. Yeah,
that's true.
But I feel like it used to be as a better audience, even in Europe, or I did not see 50 years ago. But I feel like that audience have more ideas about the opera. They were preparing before, and they knew what they were watching from on stage. Like right now, I don't know. People is prepared. Like what we do homework, I don't think audience can do on. They should have done. They should have do homework before they go to theater. I don't see those.
I agree. I think that 50 years ago, in the heyday of opera, especially in like America, I think that people liked opera the way that they like and know like pop music nowadays, or their favorite movie nowadays.
Yes.
And I think that you're right, people don't do their homework. Like there aren't as many people who are totally devoted to the art form, and so they might be new and coming and trying out, and you're right, they're shy, they're not sure what exactly to do about applause, and they're just not, a lot of them are not sure how to act in the situation.
Okay, when you are, like an example, when you are singing an Anna Bolena, like end of the opera, there is the aria, the best aria, and the huge cabaletta. Yes. Before you go to that aria, do you vocalize in the room, or you wait until your arias come?
It depends on how I feel. Like if I'm feeling under the weather, then yeah, I'll go back and like vocalize some just to make sure that all the notes are there.
Uh-huh.
But generally, if I feel good, I
Would
mean,
you
I
like
might like be like, do I have an E flat tonight? But other than that, no.
would you like to choke Henry throat during the performance?
Depends on who it is singing it.
No, because you are Anna Bolena and Boleyn.
No, I know.
Have you ever
Uh,
experienced? Have you ever have an experience with any colleagues of you on audience on stage? Like,
I mean, there have definitely been little things. I mean, I've never had like a big incident happen on stage, but there have been, little things, you know, sometimes the tenors talk too
any
much
funny
on stage.
moments with your colleagues? Any funny moments?
Oh, I've had people be singing to me, like singing a love song or whatever, and like suddenly they just say gibberish, like they're not singing the words. People with words written on their arm, things like that.
Have you ever forget words on stage?
Only once.
Mm-hmm.
It was during Marriage of Figaro at the Met. I sang one performance of it in 2009, and it was an recitative, and there was a recit in the third act before Sularia.
Mm-hmm.
There's two parts in the same recit that sound identical, and I sang the wrong words at the wrong time, and then I couldn't go on. And Lisette Oropesa had to actually give me the words because I like went spontaneously deaf and like couldn't hear the prompter, and I was panicking, and she gave me the words. So, yeah. I also lost a shoe on stage during Falstaff one time.
That is nice. That is nice. What happened? Where was the shoe? Where did it go?
So it was on my foot, and you know how I dance across the stage with Ambrogio to the oven?
Yes.
There was a hole in the stage that was just big enough my heel went in it, and my shoe came off.
And shoe stayed there?
The shoe stayed in the hole.
What did you do? Like,
as we went back across, I picked it up and put it back on my foot. When we
did you take off the other pair? You were barefoot?
No, we went over to the oven and then got the turkey out. And as we came back, I picked it up with my foot, and then yeah.
You should have left the other one too, and the barefoot. People will cry about that.
I should have.
How important for you to be acoustic, the theater acoustic? How important for you?
Important. Very important.
Very important.
Yeah.
Have you ever sang like that acoustic theater?
Oh, for sure.
Where?
I've definitely. Well, I don't want to name theaters and make.
Come on, Italy.
I mean, let's see. I mean, there's definitely some theaters
straight.
that have been...
You talk very straight. I love you all so much about that. When we have conversation, you are very straight. Tell me which company.
I mean, I can't think off the top of my head what they are. Let's see. Generally, I'm sorry, where?
Italy?
No, I haven't sung a great deal in like Naples is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But part of it also has to do with how the stage director or the set designer designs a set.
Exactly. That is very important. You're right. If it is a minimalistic stage director, there is nothing on the back to carry your voice. That's it. You are dead.
Right. Yes, you're done. And unfortunately, there's a lot of those nowadays. So you walk on stage and you're like, there are no walls behind me. So what are we going to do? Even this Aida that I did in Barcelona, beautiful production, but they're those old, like painted gauze sets, so there's no hard surface. So it was actually very hard to sing that in front of that because there's nothing for your voice to bounce off of.
Wow.
Yeah.
And have you find the Barcelona audience difficult?
No, but I would say that it was the same as what I was describing earlier, like the opening night audience is very sort of snobby, and then it gets better as it goes on.
It's like Valencia too. It's same kind of like very rich, high class, and they come with all fair coats and everything.
Yes.
And a lot of makeup and a lot of Botox.
Yes. Yeah, they're there to be seen. They're there to make appearances.
Do you like the singing in home? How is your relation with your neighbors?
We do. We sing here almost exclusively. We have a piano in our front room. So this building we live in is relatively new. I mean, it's built in the last 10 years, and they put in very nice, like, thick concrete in between the floors. And we're on an end unit, and our neighbor is actually a violinist at Curtis. So we hear her playing sometimes in our bedroom. We've never had a complaint.
They did not say, or did they knock your door saying, Angela, you sound No, let me tell you. No. Angela, you sound wonderful. May I pay you or something? They never say that?
No, unfortunately.
Come on. You should do some together, some what are they called? Some duets together.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Okay. Your husband, John, is a good tenor who's also, did he graduate AVA?
Yeah.
And he is a good kind of, I should have said, it's a good ear to help you, no?
Yeah, he has perfect pitch, and he's very knowledgeable about technique and whatnot.
And how do you find this relation? Like, is it hard to sometimes to listen to his words, or sometimes it's very helpful, or sometimes it's not helpful? Well, how do you find?
All of the above. It depends on the day. It depends on the situation. It depends on how I'm feeling at the moment. He tries to help, and he a lot of times says really good things. And, you know, it's like any teacher, like, take what works for you and move on. So, yeah.
Okay. Do you proud to be a singer? Opera singer?
Of course. Yeah. Are you proud to be a singer?
Of course. I love my job.
Me too.
I love singing. Okay. It's a rough questions. Tough questions. Do you have a good technique?
I mean, I think I have a good enough technique that I can rely on my voice to do what I ask it to do, which is the whole point of technique. So I guess in that sense, yes.
That's all. No, you have a great technique. Like, but you continue working, no?
Of course. I don't think technique is ever finished.
Exactly.
But yes, but I mean, the vast majority of the time I can ask my voice to do what I want it to do, and it will do what I want it to do. So yes, I think my technique is pretty solid, but of course we can always improve on it.
Okay. Did I ask this question? Do you think its musicality can be improved?
Oh, of course. Well, I think people have an innate musicality. Some people are very unmusical, and you can't teach them to be otherwise. But you can always improve on, well, your technique sort of things, and like your breadth of knowledge within the idea of musicality. But there is something inside of us. You are either musical or you're not. Some people can't find a beat. Some people don't understand like the emotion of musicality.
What will be helpful for them to be a better musicality? Like what they can do to be singing, I don't know, one aria, to be proved that aria, to have a better musicality, what they can do?
Well, I think being able to understand like legato and being able to sing legato and understand the style of it. I think part of it's a personality thing. Some people are more, what's the word? More emotional, more empathetic, and that helps with musicality. Understanding the words of why the words are on the music that they are on. That's part of musicality.
Also, perception is important,
Perception is also important, absolutely.
Okay, what do you recommend for young singers?
In terms of?
To be a better, I don't know, what do you recommend for young singers when they start for their singing?
I mean, I think that you need to be a good, curious student, meaning that you should want to learn about all things that are about singing, whether it's technique or it's the history of singing or it's the repertoire or the languages. I think that if you don't have that natural curiosity towards this, that it's going to be very hard to be a singer.
Okay, what they should do? They should dream. They should wake up with they should have target. Which I love your words before when we will talk when we were talking in Cincinnati. Tell me more. What they can do.
I do think that, I mean, I've always been a list maker and a goal maker. Like I like to write down what I would like to accomplish. And then I say, well, how am I going to accomplish this? What are the steps to get there? And so, I mean, to be a singer, you need to work on your technique. You need to work on your languages. You need to work on your knowledge of the repertoire. You need to listen to recordings and have a knowledge of singers and what you hear their technique is when you're listening. Like, you have to have good ears to listen. A love of history. What else? You have to be physically connected to your body, so movement.
Even philosophy, not
philosophy. Yes, of course. Yes. All those things. So, I mean, singing is not just singing. Singing is one aspect of what we do, and you have to have all those things. So it's a big, like, melting pot of things that you need to learn in order, and be curious about and want to learn in order to be a successful singer. So I would say learn all those things. Learn your languages. It will only help you. Know about the repertoire. Learn about those sorts of things. Do a lot of listening to singers, not only current singers, but like old singers.
Yes. Like dead singers, we call them.
Dead singers. Exactly. Listen to dead singers.
And listen a lot, no? You recommend a lot, like maybe 70% of this job or 80% of this job is listening. Of course, you have to work a lot. And Angela, would you like to continue or would you like us to stop? Because I don't want to take your time. But for the live right now,
I can go first.
For the live right now, I just want to ask you something.
Yeah.
You have to come to Turkey, and we're gonna have a try this baklava together.
Oh, I love baklava.
Why I was saying to you. Okay. And we have to bring you to here to show you beautiful Bosphorus. If we did it Instagram, I would have shown you the beautiful Bosphorus. We would love to see you and John in one day in Turkey, do a concert or even for vacation. And you will be my guest.
Oh.
You're going to stay in my home. You will be my guest because you are a wonderful friend. When I asked you, you accepted this wonderful invitation. Thank you so much. And I'm sure they have a lot of questions right now. They were asking me, but I don't want to, because you give wonderful answers, wonderful things. And you are a very knowledge singer and a wonderful musician, because when I sang with you, Dvorak Stabat Mater, I enjoy a lot. Le Vespri Sicilian is a big challenge for all of us, you remember, for John.
I do.
And Anna and Donna Anna, you were fantastic in Cincinnati. And it's wonderful to know you, and wonderful to sing with you, and wonderful to have you here. Thank you so much for accepting.
It's my pleasure.
And I hope we can have you again in this terrible time. We would love to give for the young singers like your face to be a positive person, because you are very positive and you are very cook. You love to cook. I'm sorry. You love to cook. And it's important to be a singer, to be cooking, because Maestro said, do you remember? You sound like you don't cook, because he knows. You remember? He said this too. And if you don't mind, we would love to have you again in some period, if this continues like that, if you don't mind. Sure. I just want to ask you this on live, because you are an example, a wonderful person, and a wonderful singer. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Burak, for having me and asking.
Thank you. Thank you. Give my love to John, please.
I will.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.